edition of Mongols, brought to you by the Beautiful Game Network. I'm Mike. With me is Kev. No Josh. He is in Seattle. Kev, what's going on?
Putting in the hard miles, after no one wants to be here, but, we show up, unlike some people. No, I'm kidding, Josh. There's completely legitimate reasons. No, I'm good. Just got back from a little vacation, and it was very nice. We went up to Maine, just a little bit south of Acadia National Park, and we hung out in Acadia for a little bit, and just got to see that part of the country at a good time too. I mean, it wasn't like peak leaf season, but it was pretty close. So we got some good color and just got to hang out with Riley's family, and it was good.
Nice. That's one place I've always wanted to visit. We just haven't had a chance, so we just need to make some time and go. So
yeah, Acadia is cool. I mean, I always kind of in my head pictured it as like one of the more, I don't know if forgotten is the right word, but it feels like the most out of the, I mean, it's not true. There's places in Alaska and probably maybe Hawaii. No, probably just Alaska. I was going to say the most like out of the way national park, excluding Alaska, but because it feels like, Tetons are right next to Yellowstone. And like, once you're in that part of the country, you can go over like the Rockies and you have like Utah, so there's just like a lot of, whereas like you're up there in Maine, like, top right corner of the country. And so it was really nice. It's like the Smokies met the ocean, and there's a lot of big rocks that the ocean crashes against. And so everything that you would kind of want and stereotypically expect from that part of the country is cool.
Nice. You mentioning Alaska, funny moment this week. One of my kids, I think he was being sarcastic, but he was like, "Dad, is Alaska like an island?" And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, well, every time you look at it on a map, you have like the US and then you have Hawaii and then you just have like Alaska just like there. Yeah. And the other one was like, no, it's connected to Canada. And he was like, what? And he was like, yeah, it's connected to Canada. He was like, well, that's dumb. Is it not connected to America? And I was like, no. So we had like this whole tangent about like, because of maps, he was like, I think he knew that Alaska wasn't an island, but it was just like, why is it always depicted as just like the middle of nowhere? And because geography. You're a geography major. That was
I am. Yeah, I haven't heard that trip before. But like I've heard, it's the whole like, kids think Greenland is like the same size as Africa, and no, it's just bad map projections, growing up. Yeah, so yeah, that's a new one though. But how are you, Mike? I know you've had some stuff.
We did have some stuff. So I tweeted it out just to sort of share, I guess we'll say, because I'm sure there are other people that have been in this situation before. But essentially, Thursday night, my oldest son had a varsity game. I won't say against who. And basically, it was, I don't know, 2/3 of the way through the first half. He picks up the ball on the left side of the field. He was playing like left forward, essentially, and makes a little move, beats one guy, and starts to cut at an angle towards the goal. There's still like 4 defenders on the back line. So I'm still like, okay, like we'll see where this goes. This other team at that point was already up like 7-0. So it wasn't even like really a contest. And my son sort of took a touch a little too far and kept running after it. But the defender came out and sort of like laid down horizontally, like came in for like a horizontal slide, not like across his leg, but like across the ball. Like he was just going to lay down and just power through the ball. And my son decided to go for the ball. And at the time, I heard what I thought was like 2 shin guards coming together. And later we now realize was his tibia, which is your shin bone, completely snapping in half. And so he, to his credit, he like toppled over the guy and he lay there for a second. And then he tried to stand up. It was just like, nope. And just like laid back down on his stomach. Trainer went out. I could tell from the look on the trainer's face that like the trainer was like, oh crap, like this isn't a sprain that I can just wrap. And so they bandaged him up. To the kid's credit, the kid who like made the slide tackle, he helped my son off the field and seemed like very remorseful about the whole thing. But afterwards, we took a trip to Latrobe Hospital because it's the closest one. On the way there, we're like, scale of 1 of 10, how's it feeling? He's like, it's like a 9, like it hurts. And so we sit in the emergency room. We were in the waiting room for like 45 minutes. We finally get in. He's laying there, hasn't taken anything for the pain at this point. They take him back for x-rays. He comes back. I'm like, how you feeling? He's like, it's like a 5 or 6. At this point, they've taken off his shin guard, and there's like the shape of the shin guard in his leg because of how splint. So at this point, I'm like, oh, maybe it's just bruised. Like, no big deal. Like, all right, like, we'll go home. He might not be able to play for a few days. No big deal. and the ER doctor came in and was like, well, you really did it good. And he was like, what? And literally, I mean, the x-ray, I don't know if you've seen the x-ray. I put it on social media, so I'll put it up here. But literally, it's just like, you just took it and it's like a twig that just snapped. And so they couldn't do anything about it in Latrobe. So they put us in an ambulance and we went to Children's. And Children's was amazing, but they basically had to sedate. They gave him some morphine before we left. He was like, I don't want to take anything. Like, he felt like he was fine. And I was like, dude, we're going to be in an ambulance. It's going to be like bumpy. They need to resplint your legs. They gave him some morphine. He was out. Like, he like fell asleep. I was like, okay, good. Like, that's good. And then we got to Children's and they sedated him again. And then basically like pushed everything back into place and casted it up. And so he now has a cast that literally runs from his groin to his heel because they don't want any twisting to occur, and it can occur above the knee. And so we didn't get home until 5:30 that morning because basically we were in Bloomfield and then we drove an hour home. And the whole time I'm thinking, I'm like, I've been up for longer than 24 hours at this point. I'm exhausted, but like I need to get the family home. And so that was a fun trip, but we were safe. It was fine. I was just like constantly drinking water to like, I'm like, all right, this motion's keeping me awake. I'm good. Yeah. And then, we basically we left home a few times, but because of how long the cast is, even just getting in the car is difficult because his leg is so long. Like, even in the front seat, we slide the front seat all the way back and he's still almost like bumping the car door. So, but he's good. He's been figuring out how to manage on crutches, which was a bit of a struggle at first, but he's now like doing laps around the house and figuring out how to get up and down and all of that. But yeah, it's great. I mean, you figure one incident in a game and basically the recovery we see is anywhere 4 to 6 months. And so I don't know how long he'll have the full leg cast before hopefully they step down to a smaller cast before they step down to a boot. But it's just like, there goes like everything. Like, we had talked about going skiing this winter. Like, that's not going to happen. We had talked about going away. Susan's 40th birthday is coming up and she and I were going to go away for a few days. And we're like, that's not going to happen. So it's just one little incident can just blow everything up. But aside from that, we know that accidents happen. It wasn't nefarious at all. His team has been amazing, sending him text messages and signs of support and all of that. But yeah, it was a crazy weekend. We ended up, basically just staying inside. We were, I probably got an hour of sleep that night. So over 48 hours, I probably slept for an hour and a half. So we kind of just crashed and watched Hocus Pocus 2, and we've been catching up on Stranger Things and all of that. So now we're just getting back to some semblance of reality. The younger two went back to school today. He'll go to school tomorrow. We had to make some arrangements with the nurse because even just like getting to class and like carrying stuff, like it's a whole thing. And so, but the school has been amazing. The principal was there and she was like helping him, like giving him crutches and like a chair for him to sit in. So she was like intimately aware. Like, there's no BS here when he goes in and she's like, what happened? She's like, saw the whole thing. Our youngest had a teacher today. He took in the excuse and he was like, yeah, my brother broke his leg. I don't know if he said like whether it was a sport or what it was. And that's why he couldn't be there on Friday. And the teacher was like, I was at the football game on Friday and there were no like injuries. And he was like, no, lady, like this was soccer and like you weren't there. So get over it. But yeah, it's been I don't want to say eventful. It's just been a different weekend for us, just sort of processing everything and sort of trying to figure out the implications of all. I mean, even thinking so far ahead as he's 15, he'll turn 16 in May. He's been, air quotes, practicing driving in our yard. And in reality, he might still be going through physical therapy when he turns 16 and won't be able to press down on a gas pedal. So like, that's kind of where we're at. I hope that's not the case. I hope recovery goes a lot smoother. We will find out. He's already talking about track, but like, just don't know. So yeah, it's been
positive outlooks, hopefully. But yeah, that sounds very intense.
Yes. So apologies to those who were, hoping that we would come here and talk about a rain-soaked game. Sorry, Harry, from dry San Antonio. Congrats, Harry, on the W and on. I couldn't tell if that was a toilet seat or what it was that the team was hoisting as like Champions Cup. I don't know if you saw this. San Antonio posted a video from their locker room at Highmark Stadium, essentially pretending like they had just won because they clinched the top spot in the entire league with that win. So kudos to them for that. It stinks that it happened at Highmark, and it happened because we lost in a rain-soaked game, but that's kind of where we're at. So the only real thing that I just wanted to sort of bring up, we put out a poll. Again, this was a goal that was late, and we said, hey, raise your hand if you're tired of giving up late goals. And 86% of people said, detach your hand and toss it. Like, that's how much, they're upset about it. And just to put that in some context, so this past week, we let up a goal in the 86th minute. We lost 1-0. The week before, we drew 1-1 with OC after giving up a goal in the 90th minute. Against Birmingham the week before, we basically lost after a goal in the 67th minute. But more importantly, Peters got a red card in the 91st and Mertz got a yellow in the 94th. So there's absolutely something that's going on here with this team that late in the game, we just lose our heads. And I don't know how you explain that. I mean, there was a tweet that we had put out, one of our polls, just sort of asking, what do you think is going on with the team? Is this mental? Is this leadership? What is this? I think we're going to ultimately save that conversation for the postseason, because I know that like Justin and Steve had some thoughts, but we said like, let's not get into this while there's still 3 games left. But I don't know. I mean, what's your state of mind with all of this going on?
I mean, it's not like it's not completely write off the season and walk away or whatever, because I mean, we will still make the playoffs and we will have a chance to cause some drama. And in one-off games, anything can happen. So I'm still holding out hope for that. I think really what I was looking forward to was the home playoff game. I think mathematically that might even be rolled out by now. Probably is. But once that ship has kind of sailed, then, whether we're playing, I mean, this might sound naive, but whether we're playing, well, Louisville, I would imagine, but whether we're playing Memphis or Tampa or Birmingham, I can kind of flip a coin for that in my personal preferences. But so, yeah, I mean, it's we still have some time to right things and get our heads right. It's not looking probable that will happen. Obviously disappointed that the season's kind of ending this way instead of gaining momentum. We're losing it. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm getting too close to broad season reflections, and this is absolutely not the time for that. So disappointing, especially against a team like that where we kind of, I don't know, we don't really create a ton of chances, but to lose it as we did, yeah, obviously probably the most disheartening thing a fan can see.
Yeah, Harry just said that he thinks that the problem is the depth, in his honest opinion. It's just, it's frustrating. I think everybody's frustrated. We put up another poll today, Kev, where I mentioned that on this week's episode, well, there were 2 episodes of Welcome to Wrexham. They spent a lot of time talking about hooliganism hooliganism, which is something that my kids didn't realize was a thing. And so watching that really sort of opened their eyes to like, what, like, seriously, like these people just get together and fight, or they're just like pick fights at the stands. And it's like, yeah, that's a thing that happens. But they broke supporters into sort of 4 different groups, hooligans being one of them. We don't really have hooligans in Pittsburgh, thank goodness. We would not really tolerate that. But we said, of the other 3 that they listed, which one would you be? So they said there's a happy clapper. So those are people who are just like happy to be there. They're just happy they have a team. It's like, all right, guys, good job. Let's go. I think we all know some happy clappers. You have your always moaners, where basically the team could be winning the championship and they still have something to complain about, like, yeah, but they could be doing this better. And then you just have your passionate followers that, like, no matter what, you're just behind the team and you don't really get down. You don't really point out things. It's just you're there and you're always going to be there. And 61% of people who took the poll put themselves in the passionate follower situation. Or category. Kev, where would you put yourself? Are you a happy clapper, an always moaner, or a passionate follower?
Well, who's like, that's some, I don't know if it's really sad or really beautiful, the people who admit that they're like moaning, they're the moaners. Like, that's either perfect like self-awareness and you understand yourself and you're not afraid, you're not ashamed of it, you're not judging yourself, or it's just like, what are you doing? Like, why are you clicking on that button? But Mike, yeah, I was gonna say,
I'm starting to fall into that cat. I didn't start
you
there.
are of late. Yes, you are.
Yes, of late, I definitely feel like I'm an always moaner. Like, we draw 0-0 with Louisville, but we could have beaten them. Like, we were this close, and it's just, I'm always finding something to moan about. But where are you, a happy clapper, a moaner, or a passionate follower?
I don't know. I mean, normal to my thing. I don't think I could say one thing. I'd probably, I don't know, probably a mix of a happy clapper and passionate supporter. Because I don't know, and this might just be kind of contextualizing my like position against yourself currently. I don't think I don't know. I guess I don't think I'm that downhearted, given disappointing runs. Like, I think I was pretty level-headed when we went on that 6-game winless streak in the middle of the season. I think I'm being kind of level-headed now. I don't know. People can say I'm wrong. You can say I'm wrong. But so, yeah, I'm, I don't know. I don't think I'm ever kind of too down in the dumps about this team. I should say I'm never too down in the dumps about this club.
Let's see if I can drag you down there with me. In reality, you just said that, like, anything could happen and it's a one and done. Do you have any confidence that this team is going to win any of their next 3 games, considering one of those is a playoff game?
Yeah.
Would you put money on it?
Yeah, but you'd have to like give me like, you have to tell me the odds. Like, if you're saying
Hounds win, that's it. Hounds win.
Hounds win, and what? I put out $1 and I get what? $1 or something.
we're getting into like, no, I'm just like,
Yes, I know. I would. I think where I'm at. Win. Yes,
where I'm at, like, we have Sacramento next, and then we have Oakland, and then we'll have a playoff game. And considering what we've seen of late, there's no point where I'm not going to be like, well, this team could just turn and give up a goal at any point. I have no confidence that this team is going to do anything. Like, it used to be that, like, okay, you could always say that no matter what, we're only going to give up a goal a game. And, like, that's it. That's all you're going to get. So now the offense needs to go out and do their thing. Or earlier this season, it felt like you could say, I shouldn't say early season. It's really, I think Dan Yost pointed out, like, the statement game was the first game of the season. But there were moments over last season, this season, where it's like, okay, we're going to go out and try to outscore guys. So you're figuring we're probably going to get maybe 2 goals a game. Like, we're going to aim for that, and that'll be good. And 2 goals a game is a pretty good average for the USL. Like, that'd be super. I have zero confidence we're going to score, and I have zero confidence we're going to keep a clean sheet. So there were a couple of shots in this game. I know that's the other thing that sort of gets me, is that it's like, you watch this game and it's like, yeah, but it was really wet. And like, it feels like every game there's an excuse. And I'm just tired of it. And this is kind of where we're at.
I get it. I totally get it. I still think we win one of the next 3 games, but
Okay. Which one?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. You told me one of the next 3. I mean, I think it's, I don't know. I'll say like I don't know, home probably.
So we go away to Sacramento, and then we have Oakland at home, and then we're likely going to go away in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think it's unreasonable for a playoff win either. I mean,
listen.
These players didn't get to play their playoff game last season. They're still kind of, they've been with a lot of them have been together over the past 2 seasons. Lily is still Lily. Let's not forget. So I think we win one of the next 3 games, and I think it's not unreasonable to say we win the first playoff game. But it's just, and I know that's hard to say now because there's not a lot of evidence to go off of that over the past 4 games. But like, I don't know. I don't think. I don't know. If I heard myself saying, if I was a listener right now, I heard myself say what I'm about to say, I'd be like annoyed. But like, I just don't feel like we lose the next 3 games. I just don't think that's in like the realm of what's possible in the Bob Lilly universe.
That's fair. I mean, I had a thought, and now I think it's gone. Yeah, I guess we'll just sort of like have to wait and see what happens. To your point about Lily, we somebody tweeted and it got some tread. I guess it was Devraj_data on Twitter. He said, at Mongols, can we change up the tradition? Players can go dry off in the locker room while the fans berate Lily in the center circle. So I kind of feel like, not that we're necessarily part of this conversation, but I do think that there may be a conversation once we get to the postseason of like, what is the future of this team? We touched on it a little bit last week. There were some subtle nods towards like, it might be great to see Lily go into maybe like a director of operations sort of position, and Dan Visser gets a shot because
you want him off the sidelines, Mike.
I'm just saying that
called it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
At a certain point, you kind of have to look and say, are we progressing or not? And if the answer is not, then what do you do? And I don't know. So yeah. Send
That's
all
an
of your
end of
hate
the season discussion point.
Send all of your hate mail to @SparksK16 on Twitter. I know
that.
that's not your Twitter handle.
Another Twitter one.
I keep saying that's your Twitter handle, and I know that's not your Twitter
handle. I mean, like going back to Harry's point of like maybe a lack of depth too, though. But like, so what do you want Lily to do? Like once again, I don't even know if Dane Kelly was hurt or not. Dane Kelly doesn't make the bench.
Right.
We're kind of relying on like what Kizza to come in and be our attacking kind of option, and so I just don't know what. Yeah, if depth is the problem, Lily's probably kind of turning around and saying like, "What do you want me to do?" Like,
right?
So I don't know what the answer is other than try to give a rallying speech and kind of rally these players for a final season push, because they've showed it in other parts of the season that they're better than probably what they're performing right now. It's just trying to make that mental switch to change that.
I think it is mental. I mean, I think these guys are too good to be just letting in goals, at the end of the game, or to be making stupid mistakes at the end of the game. And to your point, if you told any team that they could have Dane Kelly or Kizza, or, you even look at his history, something like Argudo, who played in MLS, and it's like, yeah, you have him on the bench, and like none of these guys are making a difference. It's mental. I think
that's the way.
Structural.
That's the hard part. Yeah, because like the lack of depth point that's been made. It's like, I don't know. It's both right and wrong, because yeah, you have Dane Kelly in your squad, but he's not being used, which makes me think that Lily's looking at him and saying he doesn't work in my system, in which case then there's question. Because it's like, it's not like Dane Kelly's an unknown product, right? He's been around the block long enough. He scored enough goals. So is it like, should we have never gotten him in the first place? Do we not do enough homework on him to understand that he wouldn't have fit in with this group of players or whatever? But Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It feels weird because it does seem like we have depth, but we're not using it, or Lily doesn't have confidence in it or something.
It just feels like we are not the sum of our parts right now. And the question you have to ask is, well, whose fault is that? You know, you kind of want to take all of your pieces and elevate them collectively so that they're better than the sum of their parts. And right now it feels like we're playing that. Aside from somebody like a Danny Griffin, who's like literally just trying to do everything he can all the time. But yeah, my man crush for him is real. You know that. Let's see. What other things do we have here? I guess anything else you want to talk about as it relates to the team? We did have a few random topics that were sent in that we could talk about to sort of fill some time. And Liz found one person to interview, but
no, we're giving valuable content, Mike. We're not filling time. We're not filling time.
We're not filling
content.
This is very true. We are not filling time. I'm just saying, before we move on to the non-on the field relevant stuff per se,
there you go.
Is there anything else that you want to talk about as it relates to on the field happenings or players or anything?
I think we covered it. I mean, the only thing is, the out for the team is, it is, our opponent clinched for the best team in the league in this game. They're obviously not bottom of the pile type people, and so there's something there about that, but I don't know. That's the only balance I can provide.
I'm dragging you down with me.
It's a weak one, but yes, let's move on to the off the field stuff.
All right, so let's go to Liz's stuff first. This is like a double questioner, and apologies for the swearing at the beginning of it.
Guys, this is bullshit banter brought to you by Liz's Libations because there are not enough people in the stands and I'm hiding from the rain. I might be the only one asking you questions. Question 1. Based on today's weather, why does anyone want a winter schedule for North America? I think you're wrong. Question number 2. When it is raining like this, should the free drinks from the Hounds be liquor and not booze?
So, do you want to take question 1 or 2 first?
I think we both have to take both questions eventually.
Well, eventually we got to take them. What do you want to start with?
I mean, the booze one's easy. Absolutely, you should. Why not? Just you gotta look after your family, and
right.
Looking after your family in this case for health and comfort reasons just means liquor. So
that's right.
Gotta go liquor.
Gotta get warm on the inside so that you can be warm on the outside, and yeah. So I don't disagree with that. There's the bigger question that we posted out a poll a few weeks back asking about this whole potential shift of, rather than playing spring, summer, fall, the USL has tossed around the idea of playing fall, winter, spring. Now, obviously they do it in Europe, but a quick Google search pulls up that the average temperatures in January and February in London bottom out at 40 degrees and sort of max out at 50 degrees. So that's clearly a scenario where it doesn't get as cold in at least the England area. I didn't check, obviously, Germany or Italy or France or anywhere else, Sweden, where they play the fall, winter, spring. But what are your thoughts on this whole topic, Kev? I don't know if we've actually ever gotten inside your head on this.
I don't really have an opinion on it. From a like fan comfort standpoint, like I don't know. This is where my lack of knowledge for other sports comes in. Couldn't you make the argument that like, okay, well, there's like football games in January, right? Mm-hmm. And like fans show up and you do your thing. Now, NFL seasons are shorter than MLS or USL seasons. So arguably you're having more games in that type of weather, which could be difficult. So but then I mean I don't know. I feel like at the same time you're also you're kind of capped off in the summer too, where hydration breaks are becoming more and more of a thing, where you're hitting temperatures, with heat index above 100, and so I don't know. I mean, I think maybe in the long term, it's easier to put up with winter weather than hot summer weather, but maybe not. And then you're aligned with you. So I don't really have. I think there's not a clear answer. There's not like all signs point to one solution. Otherwise, this wouldn't be a debate. But I feel like for now, maybe probably keep it as it is, spring, summer, fall, and then kind of, I don't know, monitor it as the following of the sport changes over time, potentially getting more followers, and whether or not that means commercially we need to switch over to a schedule that kind of appeases broader soccer schedules so we can integrate more in like other things. I mean, I know isn't there like a Champions League thing for North America and like Latin America happening in the coming years, so that's kind of interesting. So I don't know, I don't have a good answer for it, but yeah, I get the feeling.
I mean, you bring up a good point about American football. Imagine if the Hounds did play during the winter, the killing that Highmark Stadium would make on selling hot chocolate and like hot drinks, because people would just keep going back for more and more and more.
The problem with you could say it balances out by more people are deterred from going to the game in the first place, but
that's true. I feel like at Highmark you're more exposed than you are at football games. I feel like most football games are big bowls, and so therefore it might be windy, but you're not getting like the full blast of wind like the Steel Army is, or really any of the fans are, unless you happen to be sitting in the boxes with the wind at your back. So the wind is probably the biggest issue at Highmark, but there are places across the country that are further south that it would actually be great to play, fall, winter, spring, because the temperatures will dip down into the 40s. That's as low as they go. And like you said, you're not dealing with the heat indexes in the hundreds where it's actually dangerous to play. You're just dealing with, a frozen ball and it's cold. So I'm still sort of torn on this whole thing. I do agree. I think you get more people going to games in the summer, but with the shifting landscape of soccer, is people's tolerance for the weather gonna, or is people's tolerance for the weather not gonna deter them from going to a game?
Also, I mean, yeah, I'm the wrong person to ask because I'm not going to Highmark every week or every 2 weeks. So I don't feel what it feels like to sit in the stands in these games. So yeah.
Well, I was not there this weekend, but I have been in 2 games in the early fall where it has rained and it is miserable. Like, you're freezing. Those are the games that you remember. But I also think that because of the spring, summer, fall mentality, you don't tend to think like, I need to bring a winter coat to a Hounds game. But in reality, like, maybe you should bring a winter coat to a Hounds game. And like, if you dress expecting the winter, then it's not as bad. It might actually be okay. And so, I mean, that's why supporter scarves are really a thing, is because it's meant to keep your face warm during a game. And they started branding those, and that's how they came about. So I don't know. It will be interesting. It feels like I said, something the USL is dancing around, and at some point they're going to say yes or no, or it'll just like continue hanging out there and they won't do anything about it. And maybe they'll get to Pro Rel before that. Who knows? But those seem to be the 2 big things that, they're considering. So thanks, Liz, for the question. Hopefully you got yourself a sticker for that. And let's go on to our next question that we got. So Dr. Matthew Brown on Twitter at Brown A. Matthew said, Pittsburgh River power rankings. So, Kev, we have the Allegheny, which is northish of the city. You have the Monongahela that Highmark Stadium is on, and you have the Ohio that they flow into. Gut reaction, which of those 3 is the best?
I mean, given what we're talking on right now, it's Monongahela, obviously, as number one. I drove along the Allegheny a lot growing up in Pittsburgh, so that's probably number two. And Ohio, that's out there. I never messed with the Ohio River. So, but it is cool how it's like it's the summation of the other two. So you could say it's better than the other two because it's literally made up of the other two. Maybe they're not actually. I don't know about like the flow directions or anything, but yeah, Monongahela. Come on, it's Highmark. It's on the Mon. We're called Mongols. Southside's great, or is it? I don't even know anymore. I haven't lived in Pittsburgh in 10 years. So yeah, Mon, Allegheny, and Ohio.
I would go. I think I'm gonna go Allegheny, Mon, Ohio. Ohio is just like once you hit the Ohio, you're like outside the city. Like you've gone past it. It's flowing down. The Ohio is like the lifeblood of Cincinnati and Louisville, and like great, they can have it. Like you're right. We grew up in Penn Hills, so we spent a lot of time sort of the east and north side of the city along Allegheny River Boulevard. You have Oakmont is on the Allegheny. You have
Strip District. You have the zoo is overlooking the Allegheny.
Yeah.
Lawrenceville.
Like I feel like everything that's like happening like is along the Allegheny. PNC Park is on Allegheny. Really, the Monongahela has Highmark Stadium. It has the south side kind of. If you follow it further down, you have oh crap. Now I'm totally going to blank on
Mount
what
Washington.
that area is called.
You have the inclines. Come on, the inclines are like quintessential Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's true. You not the Steelworks. What is I'm completely blanking. I guess technically Kennywood is on the Mon. It's far enough down in that whole like area. Yeah, that's true. Sandcastle is on the Mon. So there's like a lot on the Mon. It feels like those other things are somewhat detached from it. It feels like the Allegheny sort of extends the city of Pittsburgh in ways that the Mon doesn't. It feels like the Mon sort of hits the south side and then like vanishes through the mountains until it comes out near Kennywood and Sandcastle and that whole area, which now the name is completely escaping me, which I'm just going to be paying for that later. But yeah, I think I would
say
go
the Monongahela defines Mount Washington, Mike. Come on, that's.
I guess you could. Crap. I'm still going Allegheny, Mon.
Look,
Ohio.
I was gonna say the personal attachment. I'm personally attached to the Allegheny, but given the context of the show they're on, and I've kind of talked myself into the Mon. I like.
Listen, the Mon goes a lot further south than I thought. We had a game against Charleroi, which is like 45 minutes south of the city, and all of a sudden I was driving and there was like this body of water, and I was like, "Is that the Mon?" And like literally pulled up my Google Maps. I'm like, "Yes, it is," and drove across the Mon. So yeah, we're probably not giving it credit.
Even though we grew up around the Allegheny, our family roots really go back to the Monongahela because McKeesport, Braddock.
That's true.
Like both of those are along the Mon. So
it feels like the Mon is like the older river. Like it feels like in terms of steel towns and like older communities, like you said, like the Braddocks, the McKeesports, the Glassports. Like it feels like those are all older community. Again, all of your hate mail at SparksK16. Whereas Allegheny was sort of like the newer extension of the city is going up that way. But yeah, we'll put out a poll. I think it's an interesting question.
It's a good question. Yeah, it's a question that Pittsburghers, I don't know, once again, not living in it and for the past 10 years, it's not talked about enough, not debated enough.
That's right. Which river is best? So, I think that's all of the randomness that we have for this one, Kev. Is there anything else that you had wanted to talk about before we just quickly touch on when the Hounds' next game is, in case people want to watch?
No, I don't think so. Everything. I really have to resist the urge in this one to do kind of like broader perspectives on the season, broader perspectives on where the club's moving forward. So yeah,
we were resisting it last week too, but it feels like we'll be having that conversation soon enough. So let's see. Quick plug. If you're looking for something to do next weekend, actually, they play Oakland next weekend, so never mind. I was gonna say Fort Ligonier Days is next weekend, so if anybody's looking to get some good old country air, come on out to Ligonier, and I will probably be there. We have a food truck for the Scouts where we're selling ham barbecue, hot ham and Swiss, hot dogs. If you get there early enough, we have cinnamon crunch muffins and coffee, so like that'll be good. But just throwing out there something to do. How are you feeling about Liverpool, Kev?
I mean, it feels easier to swallow given just how good like Holland looks.
He has as many games with a hat trick in them as Ronaldo does in the Premier League, and he's played 9 games.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous.
Far.
I think I saw a number, like if he continues to score at this rate and doesn't get injured caveats everywhere, he ends up scoring over 100 goals this season in all comps. Like it's just I mean he's amazing, and I just don't see how steady drop anything barring injuries.
Let me ask you this question though: is it that he is so amazing, and I'm not knocking the guy at all, the dude is amazing, or is it that in another system he would not be doing nearly as well? It's the fact that he's in City and Pep is literally like, don't you move vertically from anywhere beyond the actual goalposts, and your job is simply to crash the net and get goals. That is it. We will just put the ball on the plate for you and you will just score, and that is it.
Like everything else in life, Michael, it's not black or white. It's not either or. It's a little bit of both. Yeah, of course. Of course, playing with De Bruyne and Foden and, all these other great players in playing with Pep, under Pep's system elevates him a little more. But let's not forget, there's a good long stretch where in Dortmund he was scoring a goal a game too, which is ridiculous.
For sure.
So no, I mean, I think he's very, very good. It's like Riley would kind of knows who he is and how good he is and has seen his goals. And she's like, why do you think he's just so good? And the thing I just keep coming back to, it's obviously more than this, but his physical presence is just significantly better. He's faster, he's taller, he's stronger, he jumps higher. And it just seems like he's ruthless with constantly testing you against that. He's just going to keep running at you. He's going to keep, kind of pushing you around and shorting, and he's just relentless. And that's just like, as a defender, like that's your work. Cause it's like, how do you have to outthink speed. You have to outthink strength and height. You have to and it's just really hard to try to figure out a way around that. And no, he's just amazing. And it feels weird to say this, but I love watching him. Like I love seeing the goals he scores. I love, it's kind of cool to see him, I think it's still super early. He has a long career ahead of him, hopefully. But I vividly remember the articles written in the twilight, now that we're in the twilight of Ronaldo and Messi's career, everyone's saying we will not see anyone challenge these numbers in a long time. And I think we will. I think we're seeing it right now. And, I think Mbappe has some thinking to do on if he wants to try to keep pace with Holland. Cause it's just ridiculous. And you like how I completely misdirected your original question about Liverpool, and now we're just talking about Holland and City. Yeah.
Good job. I think it was Tifo. Somebody did a video a few weeks back that was talking about why is Holland so dominant, and it's everything you said. It's the size, it's the strength, It's the fact that he doesn't just like post up in the box. He's always running at the ball to make a play. So you're basically trying to stop a freight train. Like he's just going to run over, through, around you and take you out in the process. Anybody that has that speed but is slightly smaller isn't as successful. Anybody that's that big and is slightly slower isn't that successful. He's just like, he has the magic of everything. And
he plays to his uniqueness perfectly.
And even they played Villa and Drew, but it's a case where literally he still scored in that game by just like getting free and leaping and like passing the ball into the net where the ball was at like somebody's head, because he could just jump so high, like tapped it in. And it's like, there's nothing you could do. Like, it's just.
Well, that's what I love. I mean, I hope Mbappe still remains in the conversation because they are so different. Like Mbappe's brilliance come from his like grace and speed and technical ability. I think Mbappe can do things that Holland can't. And that's what makes him amazing and great and everything. But Holland has a body that Mbappe doesn't. And he's
far more
so
brutal.
Perfectly. Yeah.
It's like, it's a very brutalistic approach. He just goes. And it's
wonderful to watch.
it's like Ronaldo and Messi. Like it's two different styles, but like, so we'll see.
What's going on in the Villa world? Are you still looking for Gerrard to leave?
I don't want to say that I was ever looking for Gerrard to leave. You feel for the guy. He seems like he's a really nice guy. He obviously has a lot of history as a player. He speaks really well, and he's very transparent with everything that's going on. But, I mean, you feel for the guy because literally the two massive signings that they went out to make this offseason both have gone down with injuries. So they're both out for a few months. So you're basically back to the team that you had last year. And in addition to that, you're losing players, and, like, the depth is just gone from this team. So you have a fan base that is like, where's the results? Like, we're spending all this money on players. Why aren't we higher than 14th? We need to do better than we did last year. But you have a team that's just like breaking down physically, where, you know, when we play Man City and Ashley Young is your best player, like you kind of have some issues. And so there's some rookie-ish mistakes that I think that he made, like in terms of picking his captain. I don't think John McGinn was the right choice as captain. And, you know, favoring Coutinho over Buendia because, like, Coutinho's kind of your buddy. Like, that shouldn't happen either. So I hope that he turns it around and that they go on a successful run and he continues to develop as a manager at Aston Villa. I think that would be great for everybody. We're just gonna have to wait and see. You know, they had Leeds down to 10 men and still couldn't score, and Leeds almost scored at the end of the game against them. So it's like, come on, man. Like, this is a team you need to be putting away, and it's tough. So yeah, it's kind of like the Hounds. You know, I want the Hounds to prove me wrong. We're here relatively negative, and I keep saying prove me wrong. I'd love to come on this show, and we're like 3 games into the playoffs, and I would, you know, be saying I was wrong. Like, they fixed it, they got it right. I will happily say that I was wrong, but like, at this point, it just doesn't feel like that's the case. So we shall see.
Wrapping it up, do you think City will win?
I mean, I know Arsenal
like win everything. That's what I mean. Sorry. Like,
yeah.
Premier League.
Yeah, I think Arsenal's making a show of it. I don't think Tottenham have flashes. Like, I feel like everything has to be going perfectly, and then Tottenham look dominant. But they're not gonna. Everything isn't gonna go perfectly every single game, and so I think that, yeah, and you know, we'll see what Potter does with Chelsea, but I don't foresee them making sort of a late push. So I think it's going to come down to Arsenal and City, and I just think that
I think Arsenal are fall apart. There's no this is great and it's cool and whatever, but I don't know. I think in so many cases where this is the first time they've kind of been here and they're smelling this air. And I think that lasts for a honeymoon kind of length of a period. And then,
Well, and I kind of liked what was going on at United, benching Ronaldo, putting in Rashford. It seemed like those pieces, they got Anthony, and like he seemed to be pulling things in a way that it looked good, but then you go and lose 6-3 to City this weekend. And it's like, when you're playing a team that's consistently getting 6 goals, what chance do you got? Like, it's just, I think it's City's to lose at this point. And I know we're not even halfway through. We're not even at the World Cup break yet. And it's just like, what are you going to do? So are you going to watch the World Cup? Or are you going to protest?
I mean, that's a good question. I don't know. I haven't thought about it. I've heard someone make the argument before of like a middle ground protest be you watch it, but then you actively try to avoid the big sponsors that sponsor the World Cup. So, I don't know if they're putting out money and giving money to a World Cup organization in order to try to get money out of you. And that could be a form of protest, being like, well, I don't know, like Coca-Cola sponsors, blah, 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 so I'm not drinking Coke or something. So maybe I'll do that, but I don't even know how I'm going to stream it. Like, I don't know how you can watch it. So maybe I won't be watching it based off of that, but I'll probably kind of catch it like if some games are on.
It's tough because, like, at that point, I feel like it would have to take multiple World Cups of people doing that for it to actually make an impact. Because at that point, the World Cup organization, Qatar, they all have the money. They don't care. They have the ad dollars. So, and what? The next World Cup is in America. So, like, are we not going to support that? And it's just, it sucks. So you hate to see it. But money makes the world go round, unfortunately. And much like everything else in this episode, that feels very defeatist, but that's kind of where we're at. So
I think this is the new low of this podcast. Let's get out of here.
Listen,
before we set any records.
I mean, we lived through the Dave Brandt years, so like it's kind of telling. Maybe we should go back and listen to one of those like old episodes and just like see where we were. Yeah, mentally wise. That could be fun. Maybe I'll just dig one up and like re-release it in the middle of the week and just be like, this is where it's at. This is where it was. We should do that. That'll be fun. I'll do that. Okay. All right, cool. Anything else, Kev?
I think that's it.
You got any big plans for this weekend?
No. But what I think is like the last free weekend before we need to bunker down. Well, not really, because after that we're fine again. But we try to kind of be aware of when University of Tennessee football has a home game. And I think in 2 weekends they have a home game against like Alabama. So like we'll just not leave the house. And just stay in, because it's just going to be very busy. Parking is going to be expensive, and just like, so usually we try to like go downtown and just kind of hang out and get some food or go to the farmer's market, but we'll have to kind of enjoy that this weekend.
Yeah, makes sense.
What about you?
What do we got? Oh, there's an Eagle project going on. So in Scouts, basically, when you get to like the end of it, you have to, as a scout, you have to like plan a really big project that you're going to work on. So like Ollie has been working with the Carnegie Museum has a nature reserve called Powder Mill Nature Reserve, where they do all sorts of studies. And he's been working with them all summer in their Avian Research Institute, where he goes out and does bird banding with them. I don't know if I talked about this on the show before, but basically I used to drop him off at like 4:30 in the morning over the summer, and he would be there and they would set up these nets and the birds would fly into the nets, and they would take the birds in and they would put little tags on them on legs, and they document and they log them so they know all about the different rations and sizes and all that. So he was working with them all summer. And so he's going to do, his project is going to be like building a bunch of bird houses for the different species that stick around. So there's like different duck boxes that they need for the pond. There are a number of barred owls that needed homes. So he's going to build a bunch of barred owls. And then the entire pond area where all of the birds are has like become massively overgrown, and they want to like knock all of that down to make it more hospitable for all of the birds. So that's going to be like his project, is getting people together to cut all that down, build all these boxes, install all of them, do a whole thing. And because he has connections there, he's like helping people that he's worked with, and he's really happy about it. The one we're doing this weekend is at a nursing home. They're basically opening up or reopening a wing that had previously been closed, and the wing overlooks a garden that has like completely fallen into disrepair. And so this girl, her project is to basically clean up the whole garden area, bring it back to life, so that the people whose windows are facing the garden have something pleasant to look at. And so we'll go over there for a few hours and help her clean it up. Otherwise, just trying to like make sure we have everything in order prior to Fort Days the following weekend. It's a big deal. And it's crazy. Like our whole weekend will be shot doing that. But it's a really good fundraiser for the troop. So if you are in the area, feel free to stop by. We'll be right on the Diamond, right next to the candy store. So it's a good time. I don't mind working there. It's actually a lot of fun. It's like being in like a pressure cooker type kitchen where it's just like you're just throwing orders together and getting them out, and time flies. And yeah, so
you got to watch Bear on Hulu.
Bear? What is Bear?
It's so I just started watching it. Riley already watched the entire series, and she's getting me to watch it now. I'm on like episode 3, but it's a really good. It's another like chef cooking show.
Okay, is it like reality based or is it fictional?
Fictional. So fictional characters, fictional storylines, or whatever. Pretty much. Yeah, I'm not gonna ruin it. It's just good so far. I've watched the episodes, and like I remember turning into her after 5 minutes of the first episode, and I was like, yeah, like there's just little things about it that you can just tell, like, oh, this is going to be a good series. Like this is good. So yeah, I would recommend it.
Awesome. We'll have to check it out. We'll add it to our watching list while we sort of laid up on the couch. So, alrighty. Well, apologies if this was a bit of a downer episode. I feel like we covered a lot of ground, but look, if you watch the game, you know what happened. We didn't need to go into details on it. So hopefully, there were a couple of nuggets here that you enjoyed. And like I said, we'll put out the poll about the power rankings for the Rivers, because that sounds like a good time. But otherwise, thank you everyone for joining us. As always, remember that you can be part of the conversation. Head to twitter.com/Mongols. Click on the link in our profile to join our Twitter circle. Weekly reminder of Black Lives Matter. We are proudly part of the Beautiful Game Network, which is home to more than 100 volunteer writers and podcasters covering local soccer. Help us all keep doing what we're doing. Head to bgn.fm, click the donate button, and help us cover our expenses. We appreciate the support. Otherwise, thanks everybody. We'll talk to you very, very soon.
Cheers.